Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
We've been told to expect evolutionary leaps, unity, love, and spiritual enlightenment in the age of Aquarius. Given that, why all the global turmoil and upheaval? Is participation on our part necessary for us to realize our potential in the new age? Mission Evolution Radio Show is coming to you around the world on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net. With us this hour to discuss the state of the new era is Dr. Siegfried Baumbach. Dr. Baumbach is Master of Real Initiation, Yoga Master, and founder of YogaArt Ashram, Iztac. He's also been a trainer of holotherapists for over 40 years. Dr. Baumbach is a physician, chiropractor, kinesiologist, who works with nutrition, sound healing, and bioconstruction, and is the creator of Holographic Iridology. His website, Iztac.org. Dr. Baumbach, thank you so much for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Yes, hello, Gwilda. Thank you for the invitation.
It's wonderful to have you. You're in Germany right now, yes?
No, I'm in Mexico at this point, right here in the beautiful mountains of the Iztac Multiversity, where the name comes from.
It sounds lovely. It sounds lovely. So what does it mean to be a guru and master of initiation?
Well, first of all, that we have been faithful to our purpose to discover, what this thing about initiation is all about. Because initiation is eternal discovery. And by being faithful to it, so then we apply these things to our life as in holistic development, with nutrition, with exercise, with yoga, with qigong, then on the emotional plane and on the mental plane, to have a spiritual development, but in a holistic way, not separate from the material aspect.
It seems like that's kind of where we're slipping through the cracks, is that we're trying to separate everything out. And even though we're now talking about the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical aspects, we still have them in little 4 separate boxes. How can we bring those together?
Well, first of all, by doing each day, the important part is each day, because I just listened to how important yesterday the full moon on the 12th of February was. And yes, these things are important, but actually each day is important. So if someone starts including in their agenda each day some of this, improving a little bit my nutrition, doing some exercise, doing some work to nourish my emotion in the best way, to train my mind to be clearer, and then also to study somehow things that are related to spirituality. But today's spirituality is a matter of each person. It's not a matter of organizations and religions, even though we can help each other through that. But it's that each individual includes some of this each day, and then the spiritual part will rise almost by itself.
Many say we're entering a new age. What's that based on?
Basically on astronomical factor of the movements of the Earth, because besides the movement around their own axle, which makes the day and night, as we all know, and the movement around the sun, which make the stations and the year, we have an elliptic motion of the axle of the Earth, which completes the ellipse in 26,000 years. And it passes through the different zodiac signs, and that makes an age. And an age so has more or less 2,160 years. And we had from Christ to now, the Piscean age, and all the signs were around that. The disciples were fishermen, and it was an age of water, so a lot of emotion and a lot of suffering also. And now we entered, since 1948, the Aquarian age, even though we are right now in the transition. But in the Aquarian age, now it's an air sign, Aquarius, and it represents a lot of things that we have been living already since more than 100 years in terms of the development with technically the things that have to do with air, which is, the traveling through the air, our communication, telephone, and now what we have, the artificial intelligence. All of this is part of the symptoms, we could say, of Aquarius. But more important than that, which gives us the basis to really communicate among each other, and so that the truth, the teachings from all times, the essence from all times can be now received from the people. But now, as you put in the question in the beginning, do we have to do something about it so that all these things really can happen? Yes, we have to do a lot about it, even though it's in a cosmic imposition, so it will happen anyways, with or without us. But as human beings, we have the possibility to become aware of what times we are living in, so we can contribute consciously that these values that are coming up now will be implanted.
So is that the particular energy that the Earth is being bombarded with now that supports the element of air and all the things you've been mentioning? What constitutes the influence that makes it different?
Yeah, we can talk about the different aspects of the planets. Like, for instance, now in November, Pluton entered Aquarius, and it will be there for 20 years. But there are many constellations, even though we say in astrology, the person who is not so intelligent is ruled by the stars, and the wise man rules the stars. So that means it's a matter of conscious selection. We can elect our way we are participating in the evolution. And so we are living a very special moment, and astrologically, there are many, in this year especially, like normally one or two planets enter a new sign in a year. Now we have 5 that are changing. So a lot of changes are happening because we are right in the transition of all this.
I've heard it said, and I've kind of experienced it myself, that time is moving quicker. What does that mean exactly?
Well, there are people who are talking about different aspects about the dimension and of the movement of the Earth and so forth. This may be part of the story, but basically, the way because time is relative. Time is in the part of the manifestation. In the universe, in the cosmos, there is no time. There's no beginning, there's no middle, and there's no end. But in the manifestation and our perception, yes, of course there is. But we all know how our perception changes depending on the circumstances. If we are in a moment that we are anxious, time passes very slowly because things don't happen the way we want. And another moment, a lot of time passed and we didn't even notice this. And this is also on the humanity level is so because the changes that are happening and the possibilities of people of really beginning to awaken and take a big step in evolution are so big now, so that people are just in an awe of observing all the rapid changes that we are passing through.
Is it like the age is the wave, but how we surf it is up to us, our gifts and our limitations?
Yeah, and in some part. I mean, it's anyways, like, for instance, with this Pluton in Aquarius. Much of it means that the change is a must. So those people who want to hang on to the old forms of control and of power and all of these things, yeah, they may succeed for a little while more. and But it really doesn't last. So those people who are uh, putting the question, and they do it from a sincere aspect, that what is really the meaning of life? What is the meaning of my life? And they do want to know the answer, because some people ask, well, we all do, but the ego doesn't really want to know, because it means a lot of changes that we have to do once we have the answers, and that the answers are not only because we have like different modes, the survival mode, the self-gratification mode, and that's where most of the people in the world are right now. And even though there are still many, many in the mere survival mode, but now of the realization of, participating in this evolution, which is the big cosmic plan. And so if the people do this question, what is the sense of my life? Then they will understand, yeah, I do have to manage matter, but matter and money and possessions and power is not the meaning of life. It's only something to manage and to handle. The meaning of life is evolution and everything that's around it. And so when the people ask this and then they decide, I want to be on this side of the future of where Aquarius comes in, and I want to participate, and so the relationship in our society will begin to change more and more, that people, instead of just looking for, like someone said in one movie, the religion in America is private property and no trespassing, for instance, And so that people will go more in the direction of how can we serve each other? How can we support each other and contribute? And that makes the whole difference, because they know the meaning of life.
The influences of the age of Aquarius are, by what I understand what you're saying here, is pushing out the old ways that we existed under before, which is the me first, acquisition, that sort of thing. How long do we have before we really see this stuff start to leave?
Well, yeah, there's one other important aspect, because the keyword of each sign is important, and the keyword of Pisces was to believe. That's where we had so many belief systems. One thing is the teaching of the spirituality, of knowledge, of wisdom, what the big masters have done. But then there's the interpretation that turns into dogma, and that's only an interpretation, and the dogma turn into belief systems. And while Aquarius,
well, we're going to have to pick up on dogma, belief systems, and Aquarius on the other side of a station break.
All right.
And Dr. Baumbach and I will return very shortly, so don't you go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. So, it's the new age. Has anything changed? With us this hour discussing entering a new age is Dr. Siegfried Baumbach. His website, iztac.org. Dr. Baumbach, we were just talking about moving from Pisces into Aquarius, and how Pisces was kind of the era of belief and dogma. Would you pick up from there, please?
Yes, and now the key word for Aquarius is to know. And to know means consciousness, means science, means wisdom, which is available to everyone. And that makes a big difference because now we are in the way, of course, in a transition still. I mean, yeah, if we look around, we say, well, where is this Aquarian age? Looks to be very far away. But if we also look closer, we can see, like, for instance, I came here to Mexico almost 50 years ago. And I was practicing yoga and was a vegetarian already then. And then we saw there were a few very basic vegetarian restaurants, which were mainly for the old people and for the ulcer and for the diabetes people and so forth. And yoga was something really new, and the religion would say, no, this is from the devil and don't go to the yoga classes. And now you have really very advanced yoga centers and meditation and mindfulness, and you have the vegan restaurants all over with very great quality, and you have so many people who really are into new things of having alternative in education, alternative in taking care of the earth, alternatives in construction, and so many things. So if you take a close look, this knowledge, which is part of the ancient way of expressing, about the sacred geometry, for instance, and all the knowledge from the Kabbalah and from the Enneagram, everything is coming up again, and it's available now to the people. And anything you can find, even on Instagram and on the internet. But now we need to reorganize ourselves to help each other to really understand this knowledge and to be able to apply it. It's not much worse to just have it in your head.
How can we tell when one age ends and another begins?
Well, by the signs. Even Christ said 2,000 years ago, you know how to differentiate the weather, if a storm is coming or if there's rain, but you don't know how to understand the times you're living. And this is the same thing right now. There's still not too many people who understand that we are in a new age, but already 60 years ago, there was a musical that was presented, which is Hair. And the main song was about Aquarius, and it talked about certain constellations, and there are predictions that have been given by many from the Maya and the Aztecs and from Notre Dame, and there's so many predictions that somehow put the signs. And then also we know that this is more or less 2,000 years until a new age starts, and now we could see through the rapid scientific and technological development in the last 150 years, all that is happening in this direction.
So there's, we talk about moving through the ages, but it's cyclic, isn't it? It's like we're going into Aquarius now, but that's happened before and it'll happen again. Is it so long in between that we really don't have any recorded history of what it was like last time?
Well, basically, I mean, we from biblical terms, it looked like that the life here and everything started about 8,000 years ago with Adam and Eve. This, of course, has been proven totally wrong with the carbon-14 measurements, and that we are millions of years. And the Earth itself has reincarnations of 55 million years. That's what the great sages say. So now, yes, this is the 26,000 years of one cycle is also called symbolically a cosmic day. And of course, for us, even 2,000 years is a lot. But yes, this keeps going. Yes.
So do some of the sages and the people that do study, like say the Mayan calendar and this and that, are they able to look at the influences that each age brings in order to predict what's coming in the future?
Yes, you can, even just by studying, for instance, and James Webb can look for millions light years, into a different space. So we're only talking about very small cycles here on Earth, even though they look very large to us. But yes, even just studying astrology and studying even just the sign of Aquarius and their characteristics and the 11th house gives us quite an insight of what the characteristics of Aquarius are. And part of it is fraternity, the spiritual part is like friendship. Then we have also synthesis is a key word for Aquarius. The holistic development is another key word. The integration, the people come together. All religions, all philosophies, and all systems, their only goal is the union, the connection between the material human plane and the mystic divine plane.
Many of us aren't feeling the love we've been led to expect from Aquarius. I mean, it's pretty messy out there right now. Why is that?
That's right, yeah, because the transition, and like in many movies, the battles between the dark and the light, in a way, because it's necessary so we can clarify what is really happening. So the ones who are attached to their power positions don't want to let go, obviously, and that's what keeps happening. And those who are attached to their belief systems also don't want to let go. So there are the fights between belief systems and religions, the fanaticism, which we live a lot, and also, the fights around a piece of land, and all these interests on the material plane. But this is a transition which increments momentarily, but at the same time, so many more people are saying, well, I don't want that anymore. My life has more sense. And even though maybe they are not so much in a spiritual direction yet, but even though just to be human, to be loving, to be supporting for each other, so many people take to the streets to really say, hey, we're not anymore wanting this kind of thing. But the good news is the individual in most of the countries now, not all, of course, but have much more selection. They can choose. And if somebody says, well, I don't like the abuse and the ecological aspect, and so they start just by saying, I use less plastic, I use less of this and that, I be more careful. So the individual, and that's why we have to create individual consciousness about our lifestyles.
So are we basically kind of living in the chaos before the new order, like the chaos of the old breaking down and people scratching, trying to hang on? But the age of Aquarius is bringing this energy that's going to be a little difficult to fight eventually.
Yes, in fact, there's a book out by a lady in the United States many years ago, because I was present in many of the conferences that were held each 2 years in a different country and a different continent, which were called the Conference for the Unity of Man. And it started out in India, then it came over to the United States, then it came to Mexico, Austria, Spain. And I was in all these conferences, and she was there, and she had a book, and she said, the conspiracy of Aquarius. And of course, the conspiracy is not a conspiracy against anyone. It's just a conspiracy of consciousness. It's just simply that people can now communicate, and when they're aware of it, they just do things different. And these conspiracies of the networks of consciousness, we could call it the network of creative consciousness, that will help that people will do things different in each part of the world, and we get together to support each other, to just do things better, to make alliances for a better world. And yes, there are many oppositions, but it's not a matter of fighting the oppositions. It's just a matter of selecting what I do want, how do I want to live. Many people, of course, live in slavery still. I mean, in a modern slavery, like the 8, 10, 12, 16 hours of work in an office and so forth, and having just barely the necessary. So there are things in society, once people awake, then we are talking about a critical mass. And the critical mass, once enough people do put this question about the meaning of life, then all of a sudden, many people will choose a different way. And that is a power that no conventional military, economic, political power can resist.
I know that my grandmother had this wonderful saying. She said, shrouds don't have pockets. So you can't take it with you. So that's pretty obvious. So why all the fight for money? It makes me wonder.
Well, it's you know, if we look at this earth as a school, metaphorically talking, then we can say we have a kindergarten and we have preschool and we have university and so forth. So that's the same in evolution. So people, even though they may be intellectually advanced, but on the evolutionary scale are still very primitive. So they may have power and they may have a lot of cultural knowledge of information, but they have not matured in the whole development. And so they act from where they are. And yes.
Sounds like putting a loaded gun in the hand of an infant.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, in fact, you see the animal part is there, but an animal acts with their instinct. Now, once we have a reason, we use the reason to increase the instinct and do terrible things. And this becomes more and more evident that when the people are drunk with power, that they do all kinds of things because they have not understood yet how the cosmic laws work. And because if they would ask and they would understand, they wouldn't do these things because everything that comes out from us comes back to us.
Well, we're going to have to take another station break. Dr. Baumbach and I will be right back to continue our discussion. Please stay right there. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org.
I've been broken, shattered, cast to the wind. I am scattered upon the wind. I've been broken, shattered, cast to the wind. I am scattered upon the wind.
Wait, you mean we have to do something? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us discussing an evolution of consciousness is Dr. Siegfried Baumbach. His website, Iztac.org. Dr. Baumbach, we talked earlier about how, the age changes, but we don't unless we participate. How do we participate?
Well, first of all, to pay close attention. Pay close attention to everything that is happening in the world and around us and in ourselves. Because the signs and the messages of life are there everywhere. But we are so busy being active that we don't have the time and the silence to listen and to pay attention. And to pay attention is the most important thing. And then to understand what life is telling us, what changes life is suggesting in our personal life, because these changes come from our personal changes. And each of us are able to go into these changes, even though step by step. But at these times, the possibilities that these changes also in our lives don't have to be so slow anymore. Because if we pay attention, it can happen very fast. In fact, with the kind of activity I'm doing, with really starting to attend myself in this holistic development that I mentioned in the beginning. And so if I do these things and I put in my own vision by also studying what means Aquarius, and then I connect with this and propose to myself, I want something more than just money and commodity and influence or fame. I want meaning. I want sense in my life. And then things are beginning to happen, because the people, the books, the courses, the information, everything will appear in its right moment, because everything is connected. And if we are really attentive, that's why the old saying, if the disciple is ready, the master will appear. And if we do this, the answers will appear, and we will connect also more and more with our inner voice, with our true essential being, which actually is talking to us all the time.
So, if I understand you correctly, what's required here is to reevaluate our intention and set a more accurate one.
Well, the accurate, of course, is relative to who says. It's not a matter of establishing now, what's right or wrong, or what's better or worse, and it's a matter of where am I at this point in my life, which things I'm kind of tired of, and which things I really would like to see appear in my life. And then be very aware of the direction that my life can take, because each one is in a different point. What for someone is an advanced, for somebody else would be going back. So each one has to find out what is for me the point which goes forward and up, and act on it and have faith that this is the right thing, especially when it came to us in a special moment of silence, of a nature walk, of meditation, of some moment that our energy was on a higher level.
So does the powers that be, or the life basically, speak to us in metaphor?
Is
that what you're talking about, the signs?
Yeah, in many kinds of ways. I mean, it talks to us from the outside, from the circumstances, from people we meet, from things that call our attention, and it talks to us from the inside, from physical sensations. Our body talks to us all the time, from our emotions, from our thoughts, but we have to learn to create the silence, to be aware of it. Like, for instance, in yoga, there's in the Ashtanga yoga is a fifth step, which is called pratyahara. And pratyahara is this putting attention to all our senses, but also to everything that's on the inside. So life is talking to through everything all the time to us, but we usually are not very in a quiet space because of being very much distracted with our thoughts and worries and plans and attachments. And so we don't have the space to really understand these messages. That's why all the practices that have to do somehow with mindfulness, to just stop and to just breathe and to just put attention, are very helpful in this direction. I'm preparing to teach people in a long way of different possibilities, how to really get into a different way of learning, not by forcing the memory, but by relaxing, but just receiving and having access to the subconscious, and this way learning really easy anything they want.
That sounds interesting, because I know our way of learning needs to shift, because it's all mental, and we're just rehashing. If we're just learning things that have already been brought forth or hypothesized, we're just rehashing old ideas rather than accessing new ones. So in this new method that you're talking about, what channel does it come in? If it doesn't come in through the mind, how does it come into us?
Well, mind and left brain are two different things. Mind is all, you know, but we are almost only working with left brain, which is words, which is numbers, which is measurements, which is comparison and so forth, and it's memory of data. And then you learn the data, and then you repeat it in an exam, and then they say, you know, this is not really learning. First of all, we have to understand and train ourselves to also activate very consciously the right brain, which is more space and sound and intuition and, you know, all these things, and then learn to work with both brain halves together. And there are methods that we are including in this, how to train this. And then basically most of it, it's based on relaxation of breathing and on how to take in the information and how to repeat it and how to create states of attention from inner silence that are different. And I'm creating a whole system of what I call is a online didactic culture, because now we do it online. It's different than present. And we have to create this magical space so that people really can learn easily. And yes, there are many aspects that work together, even with the involvement of the physical body, of the emotions. And now the mind, instead of working only in a sequential, linear way, now it can work in a simultaneous, cubic way, we could say.
Opportunity of evolutionary growth is associated with Aquarius.
The opportunity of evolutionary growth. First of all, well, there's so many aspects in life, and the common aspects in Mexico. There's a song which is about salud, dinero y amor, which means health, money, and love. These are the three aspects. You know, we all have to deal with health issues somehow, and we can do a lot, first of all, by doing these evolutionary things to have better health. It's really true. None of us are exempt of anything, but we can do a lot to prevent and to have a better health. And we can learn how to manage the material plane in the correct way. I'm talking about the secret value of money, because there's a whole thing behind it and how to use with a spiritual consciousness the material aspect and the money. And then there are our relations with other people and with our family, with our couple. And when that is put into a spiritual context, not religious or belief, but spiritual, true spiritual context, then the relationship gathers a whole different way of being happy, but in a true way by complementing. Because we all, doesn't matter we are men or women, we have our both polarities, the masculine and the feminine, the yang and the yin. And we usually look for the other part, and that's, I don't know, in English we say it also, but we talk about, I'm searching for my half orange, as we say in Spanish. But that means, you know, I feel incomplete. And so I need to find somebody who helps me to complete myself. But in this way of developing, we complete ourselves, and yet we can do it with others, but we can achieve more and more completeness in this sense, and therefore really understand our potential, our latent potential of learning, of knowing, of applying things for the better of evolution. For instance, that is contributing to the big cosmic plan.
Do you see each of us coming this lifetime with the opportunity to participate in a particular way?
We all have opportunities. I mean, each one is where they are, and some things seem to go very slow, but it's necessary because each aspect of evolution has its own rhythm, and we have to respect the rhythm. There's no meaning of trying to accelerate, and many people try to accelerate through very special and intense practices, even in the yoga aspect, or with certain drugs and ayahuasca and mushrooms and this and that, waiting for to get this other consciousness, which, yeah, in some parts is helpful, but now it's so open, and many people don't know how to use it, and then they open windows they can't close. So everything has its own rhythm, and we have to respect this rhythm. But yes, there is, for instance, the writings of Alice Bailey, and from one master, which is Walkul, who is also called the Tibetan, and he talks about things like the discipleship in the Aquarian age. And that means that many people now can rapidly advance in their consciousness, and from there, by doing their life, but contribute to this development of other people by becoming teachers, instructors, masters.
Well, it sounds like a tall order. We'll talk a little bit more on it on the other side of yet another commercial break. Please stay with us as Dr. Baumbach and I continue to explore tools to aid our evolutionary process. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. We're coming to you on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net.
Searching through the night, one people, one nation. Searching for the light, one people, one nation. Coming from the stars, one people, one nation. To heal this earth of ours. Brilliant feathers of an unearthly hue glide by on the edge of his dream. A whisper of touch.
Are you prepared? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. We're continuing our discussion with Dr. Siegfried Baumbach. His website, iztac.org. Dr. Baumbach, we've been talking about preparing to take advantage of the new energies in the new age. And I like what you said about having to attend to, our health, abundance, that sort of thing. Is our ability to evolve restricted by our physical health? And a lot of us are having a lot of health challenges right now. Are we restricted by that, and how do we move beyond it?
Well, this also, of course, has two sides to it, because many times, especially if we look deep into what are the true reasons why we are having disease and sickness, and our medicine scientifically has advanced a lot, but it has been stuck in the material plane, that is the mechanisms of the body, and the causes of disease are not in the body. They're on different energetic levels and in the mind. In the human being, there are, of course, laws like cause and effect, which also act on the group level and on the animal level. But in the human being, it has to do a lot, especially with our consciousness. So disease as a result, yes, of errors which are committed in the physical plane, like in nutrition, for instance, or are committed in the emotional plane by not knowing and being always angry and being always in fear and being always, or very proud. All these emotions, they produce biochemical reactions in our body. In fact, physical quantum science tells us that we have 50 trillion biochemical reactions every second in our body. So we can translate that into that everything we see, everything we hear, everything we feel, plus everything we feel in our emotions and we think in our thoughts changes immediately into biochemical reactions. And these biochemical reactions, of course, can be harmful or they can be curing people. So that's why we have miraculous cures when there's a change in consciousness. But we go deeper into it, and then we see that diseases have a message, is part of the evolution, because we always have the polarity. And it only impedes if we do not do the right questions, and that's we don't put the right questions usually. We only say, well, I go to the doctor, I pay you, and you take away this pain from me. But whoever asks, what did I have to do? What is the message of life to me? Why I have to have this disease? So we look for the mechanical causes, which is just a chain of things, and then we try to interfere with these mechanical causes, which can work for the moment. But if the emotional and mental causes are still existing, like, for instance, a person who is always angry, so the liver finally will have its reaction. So yes, they can impede in the moment because I can't do all the things I would like to do. But then we see people who, through the illness, they really advance a lot in their evolution if they put the right question.
So the illness serves as a roadmap to the imbalance that's causing the problem on all four levels.
Yes, because finally, in medicine, we talk about homeostasis. And homeostasis is the perfect balance. And if anything is out of balance, we go polarize into one direction, then something will not be right. Like, for instance, let's say somebody is very responsible, but then he's so responsible, he becomes rigid. And he is demanding of other people and is critical and so forth. And in his body, he will become rigid in his joints and his arteries and his, in his conduct, because the biochemical he produces through his rigidness in the mind will translate into changes in the body. And so we can understand these signs from the different angles of the different kind of diseases and see what are the attitudes that we have to revise and to learn about.
So life happens. It comes at us. Different things go on. From what you're telling me, we need to be very, very, very mindful of how we respond to it because of the biochemical involvement.
Yeah, well, that may be a threat. That may not be very comfortable. We should relax and yet be aware. Like, for instance, the word of attention, like in the military, somebody shouts attention, everybody gets rigid. But really the word means attention, no tension. So attention is to be relaxed and observe everything and not becoming now tight about, if I have the wrong thought, a negative thought, then horrible things will happen to me. No, that would be not a good outcome of this talk. No, it's just, add on more attention and enjoy life, and then you will find out more and more how it changes in a natural, organic way towards better attitudes and more relaxed mind.
You speak of a massive awakening of consciousness. Could you go into this a little bit for us?
Well, and that same things as happens in health and disease on humankind level. the awakening, the understanding can come from putting the right questions. And what I said before, what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of life, my life? What is my mission in life? What am I good for here? How can I contribute instead of how can I take away from others so I can have more, which is a common attitude. So by putting the right question, we can have answers, because the answers are before the question. Answers are already there. We only have to put the answers. It's in the universe. All answers are already existing. Now, we can go the other route, to insist, and I want this thing for me because this is mine and I don't care, and this is the only thing, the only life I have, and I have to, and then we go like against the wall. And by going against the wall, we have wars and we have conflicts and we have poverty and we have all kinds of disasters. And then there is like the disease part in humanity. And so we will learn through this also. So there are both things. So the recommendation is it's wiser and more intelligent to sincerely the questions of what is life all about, and then attend the answers and apply it to one's own life.
Let's talk a little bit about the children coming in. Now that we're in the age of Aquarius, is there a difference in the children being born now than from years past?
Yes, many people are talking about, the different levels of consciousness of young people and children. And of course, there's everything happening at the same time, too. But yes, usually, we can find sometimes in 3-4-year-old children who put questions that the adult is, wow, where did this question come from? And in fact, if it would not be like this, we would not have evolution. We would go backwards, involution. That's why children, sons and daughters, have to do something better than what their parents did. And the disciples have to do something better than what their masters did and taught them. That doesn't mean the parents are not anymore parents and the masters are not anymore masters. But yeah, everything in evolution goes forward. And that's why those souls incarnating in these times, many of them are already quite advanced, and that will be part of the massive awakening, which will help the rest of humanity. That's why we have to be very attentive to the children and to the young people. And I'm forming a new way. I call it, a multiversity instead of university to teaching. But I ask the young people, what is your needs? What is really your interest? And I adapt to this. I'm not coming from the point, I'm the old one, I'm a master, and I know everything. I let you know what you have to do. No, I ask and I listen. And then we help them to improve their own connection with their own inner master and to be better than us.
Well, Dr. Baumbach, before we're out of time in the show, I need to ask you, what's your mission?
What is my mission? Well, basically, I've expressed it in every sentence, which is to contribute to this evolution, to this awakening, to this becoming conscious of the times we're living in, and therefore be receptive and apply it in your life. And I have dedicated my life to share what I have learned without imposing anything on anybody.
That's a beautiful approach to it. I love what you're doing with education. What a lovely contribution.
Yes, that's my mission.
It's one part of the mission. Have you found that your mission has evolved over time?
Yes, absolutely. But in a very interesting way, because I have always done what I'm doing now in this direction, but I didn't always know what I was doing. I found out things, and and an aunt gave me a book of yoga, and I started practicing yoga, and then I got into one college in Germany, and then in the United States, and then I found people involved with this, And then finally we get to this place here in the forest of the Iztac seawater, but everything was magic. Everything was like, what people say, coincidences or synchronicity. And there I found out that I was on a path, and I found that this path was practically this part of evolution. So yes, the mission became more and more conscious.
Well, I'm glad you're on this mission, and I'm glad you're with us. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you so much, Dr. Baumbach, for coming on the show.
Thank you, Gwilda, very much.
It's been a real pleasure. Our guest this hour has been Guru Dr. Siegfried Baumbach. Dr. Baumbach is the master of real initiation, yoga master, physician, chiropractor, kinesiologist, and the creator of Holographic Iridology. To find out more about Dr. Baumbach, where you can find all he has to offer, visit his website, iztac.org. This has been Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. For more information or to enjoy our past archived episodes, visit our website, www.missionevolution.org. But please, be sure to join us right here next time. This mission will continue, bringing information, resources, and support to an evolving world.